Hey guys, it's Vanity Ezel, back at another Card Fight Vanguard Ezel and the Vanity weekly review. So if you guys enjoy, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and donate to the Patreon. And let's get one started. Today, or this week, we have a bunch of reviews. As per usual, I'm recording this earlier than, the day the reviews actually happen. But that's because I know Seraph Snow is coming, and I'm going to have to record weekly reviews on that tomorrow. And I also have a fight to do on that tomorrow. And you'll see it. I'm pretty sure if I've done it correctly, it's going to be Zorga versus... It's either going to be Zorga versus Seraph Snow or Seraph Snow versus, not Gravidia, Greedon. Either way, it's going to be a really interesting match. So, let's go ahead and get this started. We do not have Seraph Snow currently, as of the time I'm recording this, but at the end of this video, sometime in this video, you will end up seeing Seraph Snow Purelight skill release. Just watch at the end. So first up we have Rebellion Knight Nuaza, 13k base, grade 3 turn jet persona ride, auto rear once per turn when this unit attacks. If there are no other rear guards, including the opponent's, it gets +5 for the turn at the end of the battle to restand itself. So if your opponent doesn't have any rear guards, and if this is the only rear guard on the board in general for both players, then he gets a restand and +5 for the turn. Now, that is okay. Like, it can definitely work for PBD, because PBD easily can nuke a board. Like, honestly, every time I use PBD, unless I'm playing a really aggressive deck that can spawn out rear guards like there's no tomorrow, something like Magnolia, this typically nukes a board. So Nuaza would be really good in those decks. And, if you run it with Bastion, you could make like a real weird build with Bastion where you're nuking the opponent's field at the same time of just keeping the one rear guard. And then, this restands once, maybe with Persona Red from Bastion, it's a 30k. I mean, not 30k, let's see, swings for 18, 20, yeah, it is a 30k on the first time, and then Bastion, and then swings again for another 30, and then Bastion swings, this brings it to 40, so I could see it definitely could be a helpful card in an interesting Bastion build, and in PBD worst case scenario, and it is for free. I give it a 2 over 3 of because it does require both players to have no rear guards besides itself, but it could be useful. Next up, we have Fortune Reading, grade 2 normal order. Play it by counterblasting 1. Look at the top card of your deck, either put it at the top or bottom and draw a card. Now, typically, when I look at these cards, I only think of their use in D series. And in terms of D series, this is okay. Like, okay, it's a Bastion counterblast 1, half of a Hexa Orb. You just get to kind of look at your next draw, or maybe just send it to bottom. So a way just to get looked guarding power, I guess. Or like PBD, it's just a free draw, I guess. I mean, you do have to counterblast for it. Here's what happens in Premium, though. Everyone now has an Oracle Think Tank card. Yeah, Oracle Think Tank is now a thing in everything. So, for just a single counterblast. And in Premium, there are a fuck ton of counterchargers. So, this common that some people might use, some people might not, suddenly has some use in there. Just saying. I give it a 2 of. And if you combine with the action, you can only play one order a turn. But if you could play multiple orders a turn, this thing would be terrifying. Next up, we have Blaze Pole Monk Retsuji. First off, a lot of people have been shitting on Nirvana for, like, you can't run it in a dedicated Verena build. I don't know what classifies as a dedicated Verena build, but if 3 Urgers, 3 Valiente, 2 Expecta, 2 Arcs, I want to say it was, and 2 Verenas, isn't it a dedicated Verena build? I obviously don't have a Verena Espada yet. If that isn't a dedicated Verena build, I have no idea what is, followed by like 2 copies of Zemea, 3 copies of Mirren, etc., etc. If that's not a dedicated Verena build, I don't know what the hell is. It works perfectly fine with the Verena build. It does need some support cards. This thing is a hell good of a support card. Grade 1, boost 5k shield, AK base. Auto when it's placed on rear, counterblast 1, choose up to 1 card with the overdress ability from your drop zone, put it to your hand. Then if your Vanguards are grade 4, countercharge 1. So first off, my main problem with overdress is never getting it out of deck. Okay, well, on rare occasions, it's getting it out of deck, because sometimes I just see 3 of them, and sometimes that's not enough. But everyone's problem with overdress is that none of them, besides Trickstar, which is not an overdress, have effect destruction prevention. We were all hoping Nirvana would give it, or at least I was hoping Nirvana would give it. And while it didn't, and we had multiple ways to recycle Trickstar, we never had multiple ways to recycle the overdress units minus like a blitz order and I think like an on-hit grade 2. Now we have this, which is just counterblast, get an overdress. And the thing is, this is better than the grade 2 because the grade 2 actually had to hit. This is just by being placed. And it's for free if you're on the grade 4. My Nirvana deck was already working really consistently, in my personal opinion. Like, it didn't have any problems. It didn't feel like there were any problems with it. It actually felt like it got really better just by the change of a few cards and somehow less guarding power. This kind of gives me what I need, because my whole problem with Nirvana before is, like, I never really had enough counterblast or like I would have not enough counterblast, and then I added Gojo over my Persona Reds. Then I took out Gojo, and I guess I played kind of sparingly, so I didn't really run into the problem again. But then Retsu here is just gonna make it a lot easier, and because you'll be going into later game with him, it's a lot helpful. It's a lot more helpful now that you have a grade 4 that might be able to get it for free. All around, this thing's an amazing grade 1, and I love it. 2 over 3 of 4 is a bit too much in my opinion, especially with how much of the space has in the deck, but 2 over 3 of. Next up, we have Blaze Fist Monk Chouki, 6k base, 5k show, grade 1 boost. Auto, when it's placed on guard circle, reveal a grade 4 from your hand. It gets plus 10k show for the battle. Okay, in a dedicated Mahara Nirvana deck, I could definitely see this. Like, it's a 15k shield. Here's my thing. I run Urger in my build. A lot of you will either disagree with that or agree with it. I don't know if it's just me that finds Urger really good in this deck, because even I know Urger is restricted to the original Nirvana for its, battle phase skill, but the plus 10 power and shield isn't restricted. It just has to be in the overdressed state. It doesn't matter what grade 3 or 4 you're on. So, I don't need the extra shield. I mean, this is helpful when the opponent's going to target the Urger as a murder fodder, but Chouki, I don't need. If you're making a dedicated Nirvana deck, then yeah, go with this one, but otherwise, not me. I got a 2 over 3 if you choose to run it. Next up, we have the cards that everyone hates, and I actually agree with the majority of the opinion for once. Blaze Maiden Sonya, 10k base, grade 2 intercept, 5k shield. Auto is placed on rear if your Vanguard's a grade 3 or greater, Soul Blast 1, and gets plus 10 for the turn. So, 20k swing if your Vanguard is a grade 3 or a grade 4 for a Soul Blast. My deck has a Soul Blast problem. Automatically, not running this. I mean, it technically doesn't, and technically it does. I prefer to use my Soul Blast on the Verena and Urger, even though those are the only 2 cards that Soul Blast. I prefer to use them because Urger I use on grade 3 Rush, and I use Verena just in case I need to nuke something or I need to hit high power. So Sonya, not in my books. And immediately, because I'm not running Sonya, I should have no reason to run Tonya, considering she requires Sonya in the first place. Blaze Maiden Tonya, grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto rear at the end of the battle that it boosted Blaze Maiden Sonya. Counterbalance one, retire all of your rear guards in the same column as it. So basically, this unit and Tonya will die because they're both in the same column. Unfortunately, your opponent's rear guards don't die. Search your deck for a unit card with the same grade, +1 or greater than your Vanguard. Reveal it, add it to your hand, and shuffle your deck. So you basically get a grade 4 if you're on a grade 3. If you're on grade 2, I believe you get a grade 3, etc., etc. Now, I like how it can just get the search of the grade 4. My problem is, it requires this to be ran. There's already a space problem. Like, you use Anime Deck, I guess had an interesting way of doing it. I'm not going to try because that just looks weird to me. But, like, it had an interesting way of doing it that made these 2 useful. I don't like them at all. If you want to use them because they don't have to hit and it clears up your board, so you can kind of go rush, clear it up, and then you can't really be targeted by prisons from board, I guess you can go for it and it gets you a search, but it also costs a counterblast. And yeah, no. For me, this is a hard no of either, but if you want to run either of them, 2 of or 3 of. Most likely 2 of. Next up, we have Brainwash Swirler, 8k base, 5k shield, grade 1 with boost, triple rare for presumably Barrow Magnus. Auto, when it's placed on rear, you may soul charge 1, and when your card is put into your soul by your soul charge ability, if you have a Vanguard that's grade 3 or greater, it gets +5 for the turn, 10 if it's soul charge 2. So, it's a Dark States card. If before last week where we got news that the grade 4s, that the new evolutions were all going to be grade 4s, logically we could say that this would be a spoiler, because while yes, it could just be a premium thing for the Vanguard grade 3 or greater thing, if it wasn't meant to be that way, then yeah, it's obviously then tells us that they'd be grade 4s, but we already knew they were grade 4, so that doesn't really matter. So, here's the important carry with this. 1, free soul charge. They stole that straight from Gunning Ram. But the second ability, the very important one, is it says by soul charge abilities. Doesn't mean you can just go run this in Agreed On, call 5 rear guards with this being one of them, and then shove the other 4 rear guards into soul, restand Agreed On, and then this thing would get +20 because 4 cards are sent to soul. That's not how it works. It has to be by a soul charge ability, not by enters the soul. So things like Deep Sonicer, it actually has to have the soul charge icon most likely. That's what it means. But, you know, the good news is, like, you still get the power out of it. So, like, plus 10 if you soul charge 2, plus 15 if you soul charge 3. So that's the thing. Brainwash Swirler can definitely be useful. I give him a 2 of or 3 of. My thing is for him, though, is that the deck that I think he'd be the most useful in, which is Barrow Magnus, doesn't use, like, or at least for my build, doesn't use the soul charge icon too much. Like, you use a handful-ish of cards in the early game where this is going to be useless, and then late game where it would be useful, you don't. So, yeah, it's an okay card for a triple rare. I give it a 2 over 3 of. I don't think I would run this, because it would be really good in the early game, but not that good in the late game, because afterwards you're kind of being really careful of your soul charging. You don't use cards that actually soul charge. Next up, we have Shining Selfishness, which is a grade 2 Blitz order for Greedon, which looks really cool, and he has a weapon in it. Oh no, is that a bike? What is that? I mean, either way, he looks really cool. Blitz order, play it by Soul Blasting 4, so Greedon's cost to the cards you shove into Greedon's soul or restand them. Choose one of your Vanguards, and it gets plus 5k until end of turn for until the end of that battle for each card in your damage zone. So if you're at 4 damage, plus 20, 6 damage, plus 30. I'm not running this. Here's why. First grade 3 turn. I always have a problem with soul because, like, I have to... I mean, technically I don't, because you can just, like, soul blast the starter in the grade 1, but I don't really want to do that just because I like having the ride line in soul, but I will do it if it comes down to it. So, you know, you have to soul blast a few cards that you don't want, but then you're also getting the restand. Here's the problem. Unless I have done the effort and I've drawn the 3 bunnies to go into double Greedon, I don't have 4 soul to spend, or like I will, because I just shove 4 rear guards to soul, but like, you know, if you think about it, you get 1 Bushuku into there. After you kind of soul blast the first 2, you're at 1 soul if you haven't... you're at 2 soul because you had 4 soul before. You send 4 to soul. You're at 6 now. You get the restand. And yeah, but you're going to have to soul blast 4 again to play the splits order. Basically, so Shining Selfishness, not a card I like, considering how high the soul cost is. It can definitely be played in Barrow Magnus, but because Barrow has all the excess soul, but then again, like, late game that would be helpful, early game not so much. Bruce will use this in a time of need, but probably won't need to use it because they have their own blitz order that does almost the exact that does it almost a similar power for free, or like higher power for free most likely. So I don't know about this. I give it like a 2 of. I'm definitely not running this. Definitely not, unless they can just give us a Greedon card that just says fetch bunny out of drop and fetch it out of deck, because every time I play the deck, the bunnies just stay in there, and then every time I see someone else play, including my friends, even if it's the same build, they get the bunnies in their hand. Why am I not allowed to use the bunny? What did I do to deserve this? I want the fucking bunny. So, yeah, it's an interesting order to say the least. God damn you bunnies, 2 of you run this. I'm not gonna run it though. Next up on the list, we have Aurora Fierce Princess Seraph Purelight. Now, just like last week before I actually recorded this reveal, I did a test game between them, and all I'm going to say is this. Tomorrow is Seraph Snow versus PBD. I don't know if I premiered it or not, but in case if I didn't, now I know what it's going to be. Here's the thing. This card is stupidly good. Like, literally the night before this, on Sunday, yesterday for me when I'm recording this, because I'm going to upload it on Tuesday, but I'm recording this part on Monday. On Saturday, 2 days ago, I literally told my friend Mandala, you know what, I didn't like Prison, and it is partially because it's a control deck, but that's not the main reason. Prison has no power, it has like no pressure besides the over trigger. What I hope the new Seraph Snow does is it gives power to the front row and extra critical if you have so-and-so amount of cards in Prison. By bullshit, I have not only guessed its second skill, but that second skill is BS. Like, I'll explain after the skill reading. First up, auto when it's placed on grade 4, triple drive, 13k base. Auto when it's placed on Vanguard, counterblast 1 and soul blast 1 card of Seraph in its card name. So basically, like how Nirvana and Magnolia do, they require the original to do something. Your opponent chooses 2 cards each from their hand, rear guards, and soul and puts them in your prison. It's not up to. If they can do it, they do it. Granted, they get to pick the 2, but they pick 2 from everywhere. Their hand, their soul, and their fucking field. What's next? The drop zone and the deck? Those are the 2 zones missing. Hell, the damage zone. They'll get a free heal, because guess what? That is BS. Just a free 6 Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, 6 cards. I'm sorry, what? What? The only bad side about this is that it has to be on place. But considering the fact you can just keep riding it over and over again, even if you don't get the Persona right, that's 6 imprisoned. So Purelight's really good. And continuous Vanguard, during your turn, all of your front row units get plus 5k for every 2 of your opponent's imprisoned cards in your prison. Then if you have 10 or more cards, all front row units get plus 1 critical. So your front row, so automatically, this thing's 1 skill alone is plus 15. By placing this, if they have no cards in prison before this, and they can imprison 6, then that's plus 15 to front row already. So automatically, that's like more than a Persona ride. But then 2, if you just get 4 more cards in prison, you got plus 25 to front row, and you got everyone has an extra crit. So this is swinging for 38. If you get the 10, this is swinging for 38. You call 2 grade 2s to the board. They're swinging for 35. And if one of them has the plus 5 skill, then the 40s, with all double critical, you pull your over trigger. Someone's hidden for fucking 2 million, and everyone has quadruple critical. Suddenly, Seraph Snow has surpassed Meteors in power. I literally said before, the only reason I didn't like Seraph Snow is because, well, besides the controlling, is that they have like no power output whatsoever, or pressure gaining. This one card's existence fixes that entire problem that I had with Seraph Snow. All I'm gonna say is this. If you really want to understand the BS that this thing is capable of, watch tomorrow's game. It is incredibly just stupid. It's dumb is what this thing is. It's just... words cannot describe the BS behind this skill. 3 of, 4 of... Bushy, put this on the ban list, please. I know I said I wanted this, but you didn't... The one time Bushy listens to me is the one time it's broken. Are you kidding me? Why do you do this, Bushy? Why? Run this into 3 of it's just broken.
To continue, we have Cycle Elimination Dragon, 10k base, 5k shield, grade 2 with intercept, auto rear. During your turn, if you put in order without magic, or you've made a total of 5 attacks or more this turn, put it to soul countercharge 1. I find this interesting. It definitely gives Zorga another countercharger, even though it already had Tearing Malice where you kill 2, shove it to soul, get a countercharger and a draw. And Prize Trident was a thing that for the 5 attacks. So honestly, I don't see the purpose in this. Like, you can use without magic. I mean, it is at the end of your turn that you activate this ability. I can see it going off in Zorga. I definitely don't see people replacing it for Prize Trident because Prize Trident is a booster, and to hit the 5 attacks you need the 2 restanders, so you don't really want to call this. I give this a 2 of maybe in Zorga, but I say you might just want to run like Tearing Malice in Zorga instead, but this thing still has its purpose, of course. Next up we have Usurping Decay Dragon, 13k base, grade 800 Persona Ride, auto drop zone. When your grade 3 or greater Vanguard is placed, you may call this card to rear. So, interesting that now Premium has, well, okay, maybe it won't do anything for Overdress because, you know, you're only going to be discarding it for the ride deck, and you might get it in early game, but, like, in all honesty, in Overdress, you have roaming Prison Dragon, you don't need this. But, in Premium, you can just discard this for Stride, because your grade 3 or greater Vanguard was placed, call this, and now you have an extra rear guard. Honestly, this thing has purpose in Premium, not that much purpose in D. Don't run this in D. If you do want to, you're probably playing a budget deck, and even then, like, this is inherently a better option. I give this like a 2 of in Premium. Then again, Skull Dragon's a thing. Next up we have Serrated Saw Angel, a card for Angel Feather. Been a while since we've had clan restricted reveals. Grade 1 boost, 10k shield, 8k base. Act rear if you have a Vanguard with Malkuth Melody in its card name. Counterblast 1, bind it. Choose a card with Malkuth Melody in its card name from your soul. Put it at the top of your deck. If you did not ride it this turn, you may ride that card instead of putting it at the top of your deck. So, a way to get extra protect markers in one turn, just because Malkuth Melody can ride once during the turn and then once during the, I guess Actually, no, if you play it right, you could technically do it during the battle phase, I think. There will be a way to do it eventually. But, impose some interesting factors there, because that also means, like, you could just set up another way to get Malkuth Melky, the one that activates from damage zone or from trigger zone, put it back at the top of your deck, if it's in your soul right now, and just a way to maybe put the other one back at the top of the deck just to draw it. All around, I like this card. I like Malkuth Melky, I've said it before. The fuckery, the protect gifts, the power, and I really like it getting more support, and it, even though it does cost a counterblast, it's not really that bad in a Malkuth Melky deck, so I give it like 2 of 3 of. Next up, we have Stealth Dragon Gyokusen, Nubatama, 8k base, 10k show, grade 1 with boost. Honestly, this art looks pretty slap. Auto drop zone, when your grade 3 Vanguard is placed, counterblast 1 to add this card, or a grade 3 card from your soul to your hand. If you add it from your soul, bind this card. So either bind this, or add it to hand. Oh, I'm sorry, bind this and get a grade 3, and because you most likely will use this with Hanzo, for reasons I'll explain later, or just anything really, you can loop protect markers back, and, you know, or you just get this to hand, which you can get a tank issue out of it basically, but I think the Hanzo is better. And it autoed when returned to your hand by your card's effect. Soul Blast 1, call up to 2 evil decoy tokens to open rearguard circles. So it has to be 1, it has to be bounced via from rearguard, it cannot do it from drop zone. But either way, that's pretty good, because if you bounce it from rear, you Soul Blast, you get 2 tokens. Perfect. Honestly, I think it's pretty good. You know, if you get 2 tokens, I don't know how you're going to bounce this in Hanzo. Does Hanzo have capabilities of bouncing rear guards? I want to say it doesn't, but it might. Either way, I give this thing a 2 of. Yeah, no, just straight up 2 of, because I don't, like, I like my Hanzo deck the way it is. I don't think it needs this. Like, maybe the first skill, but at the same time, I don't really want to use up my counterblast, considering I already have Zangetsu and the other grade 2 that came with the newer Hanzo. I give this a 2 of. If you want to run it, you can, but I'm personally not going to run it. Next up, we have Invasion Mutant Azuzladon. Grade 3 to enjoy Persona Red, 13k base for Brantgate. Auto rear when this unit attacks. The unit being attacked gets -2 power for the turn. And auto rear when this unit is attacked. The unit that attacked it loses 2 power. So basically, you're making them minus power when anything this thing battles against is losing power, which is just really nice because it makes it slightly harder for it to hit or for the opponent to guard, so they actively have to call boosters or maybe call more units. Weirdly enough, I can see this being a finisher just because, like, if you play it right and you minus enough power, it could, and you add enough power to yourself, you could definitely kill people with this. And because Seraph Purelight isn't restricted to Aurora Battle Princesses, you can run this and then that 2k might just make the big enough difference. So I give this thing a 3 of if you choose to run it. I'm not gonna run it though, because none of my decks need this, but if you want to run a possible finisher, you can. Next up, we have Infestio Dragon. Grade 1, boost 5k show, 8k base, auto rear at the end of the battle that it boosted a Vanguard. If the boosted unit is standing, Soul Blast 2, choose one of your opponent's from rearguard, retire it, choose a Vanguard, and it gets +5. So, that is really good. Because, okay, well let's get this out of the way. This can be used with any Dragon Empire deck solely because you have your Overdroid that can restand the Vanguard, but to cut the shit, this is mainly used for Overlord, which is really nice. That Overlord got a promo, which is really good. Because, you know, at the end of the battle that Overlord stood, I mean, you kill a rearguard with its attack, boost it with this, restand Overlord, skill this thing, Soul Blast 2, kill the other rearguard, Vanguard gets 18k base. So, Infestio's all around really good, kills the front row, and the only downside is you have to lose a booster out of it, but you still get some form of a boost. So I'll give it a 2 over 3 of, because it actually does help. The only downside is Soul Blast 2. Next up is Tangle Venara. 8k base, 5k sure, grade 1 with boost. Auto rear at the end of the battle that it boosted, put it to soul, choose one of your units, it gets +5 for the turn. I don't know why, but I feel like we've seen that before in Dark States, and I don't think we need this, but I mean, it's still good. Like, definitely a generic version of the Doggo from Final Rush that goes to soul and gives +10 if you're in Final Rush. I don't think anyone needs this though, because, like, Barrow doesn't need this. Greedon ain't gonna use this, because to use this you have to boost with it. Bruce has Dog, so I don't think this is needed. I really don't. I can only see Barrow using this, and I barely see Barrow using this, so 2 maybe if you choose to run it. Maybe a hard 1 of tech, but I don't think it's that good. I do like his art though. Next up we have Cardinal, Prima, Cagula. That is not how you say that name, but I don't care. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base. Auto rear when placed. If your world is Dark Knight, you may soul charge 1. If your world is Abyssal Dark Knight, you may soul charge 2. And then act rear if your world is Abyssal Dark Knight, soul blast 1. Retire this unit to call a Shadow Army token. So, a lot of things to unpack with that. First off, Orphis has had a lot of soul blast problems lately. And with all the soul blasting orders, it's really nice to get a soul charger that helps. We do have one that acts as a guardian, but I prefer this one because, you know, I want to be able to call my units and still use their abilities. So, you know, getting a soul charge by being in Dark Knight is really good. And getting 2 soul charges by being an Abyssal Dark Knight is really good. But then also, the best part about this is that it's a May. So if you don't want a soul charge, you don't have to soul charge. So you won't end up decking yourself out from this, which all around is really good. So automatically that's a consideration just to shove it in a 3 of. But then the also ability of, if you're an Abyssal Dark Knight, you soul blast 1 and retire and you get a Shadow Army token. Basically what the dog does, the one that looks the top 3 for a world, I think. It does it really good. I think this deserves to be a 3 of in the deck, just because it gives you soul, which your deck somewhat needs. Next up we have Knot of Sorrow, Grania. 9k base, 5k shield, grade 2 with intercept. Continues rearguard during the battle that it attacked. If your Vanguard is a blaster, gets plus 5, so 14k base. And auto when it's retired from... auto when retired from rearguard for your Vanguard's cost. Counterblast 1 and add this card to hand. So basically, Counterblast 2, Nuke 3, kill 2 of your opponent's rearguards, Vanguard gets plus 10 in the crit, and then this comes back to hand. It's okay. The funny part about it is, I recently reminded myself that the retiring of your rearguards is a part of the cost. Which means if Bushy ever gave us a card that just said, you don't have to pay the cost for your abilities in Vanguard, then it's just Counterblast 1, nuke 2 of your opponent's rearguards, and get plus 10 on a crit on Van. Just saying, actually it wouldn't even be Counterblast 1, it would just be nuke 3 of your opponent's rearguards. But you don't give us something that gives us an ability for free, don't do it. It's too broken. This 2 of maybe, 3 of, not really feeling this card. Next up we have Sylvan, Horned Beast, Momorna. That's kind of how you say his name. 8k base, 5k shield, Cardinal with boost. Auto was retired from rear during your opponent's turn. If your Vanguard's a grade 3 or greater, search your deck for a card with the same card name as this card, reveal it, put it to your hand, reveal it to the opponent, and add it to your hand and shuffle your deck. So, if you're playing against a deck that just kills rearguards at all, or like they swing into this, get a copy of it if you're a grade 3. I think I know why this is like this. Because Seraph Snow got a card that does this but better. I think they were just trying to copy it and they did a horrible job of doing so. I don't think you need... it replaces itself if it dies, but I don't think you need this. 2 if you choose to run it. I'm not going to run this because I already have better cards. Next up we have Hacha-mecha Girl Farsele, 8k base, 5k shield, go down with boost. Auto is placed on rear if you have 3 or more rear cards, gets plus 5 for the turn. So, if you place this during the battle phase for Kari, yeah, because I don't think this is a ghost. If you placed it during battle phase for Kari, this might hit for 13. It's okay, yeah, Kari has a lot of on places and can just bounce stuff. I can see this actually working in Kari. I give it 3 of, hard 3 of. And then our last release for today, before we get on to news, is Aurora Battle Princess Suppress Gleamer. It was in the anime. Interesting art. I didn't get to use it in my test battle against PBD, but it's fine. First off, AK base, 5k shield, grade 1 with boost. I really love that art. It looks really cool. Continuous rearguard. If your Vanguard's a Seraph Snow, or has Seraph in its card name, gets plus 5 just permanently during both players' turns, so both players' turns is a 13k base. And auto, when it's placed on a rear from hand, if you have 3 or more of your opponent's cards imprisoned in your prison, search your deck for up to 1 copy of it, call it to rear and shuffle your deck. So basically, if your Vanguard is Seraph, this is a 13k, and when it's placed, if there are 3 or more in prison, which is easily done, especially with a new Seraph, call a copy. Okay, definitely adds the power to more, pressure to Seraph. Here's the thing, though. I've learned that Seraph is incredibly terrifying, but to do that you need a lot of cards in prison. And I built like hyper prisoning deck to turbo that out. Now I might just get rid of something for this because this is honestly for free and does a lot for the deck. So I might just run this at a 3 of, but I might just not. It's either I run it at 3 of or I don't run it at all. Either way, I definitely suggest thinking about it because it is a 13k base and it's just a free call. So 3 of, or 4 of if you want to use all of its abilities. And then our last news for today is that next week's stream will be release special for DBTO4 and will feature new cards in it that will also appear in the anime SSRs from the set, and important cards will be introduced, aka Verena most likely, Bruce, and Bastion. We all know Bruce and Bastion are getting shown. I mean, we all know guaranteed Bastion is being shown because we saw the anime clip that Apex Bastion was on Toya's Vanguard, and we all assume Bruce is going to get shown. Maybe not, because it's not as confirmed, but we all assume it will. And if not on Monday, it will definitely be shown on Tuesday. And Verena, well, I have a lot of tests planned to do. That's all I'm going to say. So, honestly, very hopeful for what those cards would do. I think they're going to be really interesting. Seraph Purelight kind of scares me, and now I regret everything I've said bad about Prison. So I'm going to end it here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to Patreon, join the Discord, follow the Twitch, and I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to stand up your Vanguards.